we're glad to do it too for you and send you our copy if anything goes wrong. But I know that you said some people who couldn't be here would like the recording, so I just did a magic thing and let you record there. Once we start, if everybody could mute themselves if they're not muted, that would be really great. And I may be distracted at some point because I'm letting more people in. But yeah, this is just supposed to be a fun, quick thing, and we're so excited to have so many people here, not including us, the hosts and the readers. It looks like we have 16 people, which is just wonderful and lovely during quarantine or not for a reading. And we're so excited because this is the first of this series, and we couldn't be more thrilled than to have Jill and to have Hannah for our first reading. So I think we're going to read the bios, and then, if you want to clap, you can clap in the chat. You can give props in the chat, and readers and other sentimental people, you can save the chat as a file should you need some sentimental reading to do later, or I don't know.
Or another good reason to save the chat is that Jill and Hannah are going to post their links to their books, their works, on the chat screen. So that's a great reason to save the chat so you can check them out later. Should we get on our way?
Sure. Yeah, so Alan is going to read some intros, and again, I am now muting everyone but the readers. We will have Jill reading first, and that's what's good. Yeah. I don't have anything else to say. What about you?
So first up, we do have Jill McCabe Johnson, who's the author of poetry collections of Revolutions We'd Hoped We'd Outgrown, which we're living in one, and Diary of the One Swelling Sea, plus chapbooks Pendulum and Borderline. She's the founder of Wandering Ingus Press and the nonprofit Artsmith. Jill teaches English for Skagit Valley College, where, did I get that right, Jill?
Yep.
Skagit Valley College, where she makes her home in the San Juan Islands. When she's not welcoming guests to her B&B, she can usually be found on a trail. All right, Jill, take us away.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank Kristi and Alan for coming up with this brilliant idea to do this reading series, and for inviting Hannah and me to do it. And thank you, Hannah, for reading along with me. Yesterday we did a little tech check, and we decided to flip a coin to see who would go first. And usually in a reading, the second person who reads, is sort of like the main header, which seems appropriate for Hannah anyway. But I was kind of hoping to go first because then I get to have it out of the way and I can relax and enjoy Hannah's reading. So all good. And I won't say everybody's names, but oh my gosh, I see so many friends and family, and thank you for coming to the reading. It's really, really, really wonderful to see your faces. Big love to all of you. So I'm going to read a poem and then a little excerpt from my memoir in progress. And then if there's time, I'll follow up with one, maybe two more poems. And the clock is ticking. So I'll go ahead and start with a poem, Thoughts and Prayers, that is in response to, actually this is part of my collection in progress, The Disruption Regime. And some of it deals with violence today. And so this one is in response to the trite things that politicians often say after there's been a tragic incident involving guns. Thoughts and prayers. On behalf of the people, for the people, we'd like to express our deepest condolences. For the victims and families of the victims, we send our thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers to the victims and the families after such tragic loss. We'd like to express on behalf of our deepest, we send condolences in this moment of grief. In this moment, our thoughts and prayers are with you all. sending to the students for their heartbreaking losses, the victims and their families, our deepest expression on behalf of the beautiful souls in this difficult, may they rest time in peace, those felled by another mass moment of silence. And in our grief, we wanted you to know we're pulling for you. Stay strong. May your memories comfort you. We'll light a candle. You'll always be in our hearts. We'll never forget the victims and their families. We'd like to express our deepest for your pain and prayers. May they rest in heartbreaking moments as we mourn these losses so unnecessary. Violence, only the good, our nation die young. And we grieve with you. You'll always be, you'll never be forgotten, passed away on earth as it is in heaven. Give us our daily thoughts and prayers on behalf of victims and their loved ones, for the bereaved, the survivors, expecting changes, legislation. It's too soon, too disrespectful. Guns don't kill people, people kill people. So take care, take cover, arm yourselves. We're rooting for you. We're sorry, so very sorry, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Gun. Peace be with you and also with you forever and ever. Amen. So weird. Thank you. Yay. So weird not to hear people, you know, kind of shifting in their chairs and coughing or whatever during the reading. Glad you're there though. Okay, so then I'm going to read a short excerpt from my memoir, Learning to Spar, and a big shout out and hello to Kelly Dietrich, my agent, who has really, really helped me get it into the shape it's in. At this point in the memoir, my father is dying of cancer. He's about a month away from death. And I'm a single mom who was in a relationship, both business-wise and romantically, with someone with mental health issues. And the business failed. I'm about $20,000, almost $20,000 down from investing in it, and barely have money to pay for the groceries. And so things are tight, and my poor son, Jeff, things are tight for him too. It's my parents' anniversary, and I've just purchased flowers and I'm going to their house. I found Mom and Dad sitting side by side in a little patio they'd created 2 summers earlier. Backed by photinias that blocked sight of the road, the patio overlooked 2 bird baths surrounded by azaleas, pieris, and Japanese laurel, with a weeping willow on one end. Mom patted the chair next to her, and the 3 of us commented on how pretty the yard looked, ignoring the ivy that needed to be cut back and peeling paint on the deck side rails, mostly ignoring the subject of Dad's health, until I finally asked him, "How are you feeling?" "Pretty good for the most part, except I tire easily. How are you doing?" he asked, as if anything in my life could matter next to what he was dealing with. "I'm all right," I said, still in denial, I think, after what the doctor told you. I couldn't name the disease, couldn't say the C word. Does it seem unreal to you? Dad raised his thick eyebrows and smiled. "No, it feels right." He took a sip of water. Mom had poured him a beer, but he didn't touch it, maybe afraid it would make him feel even more tired. He told us about an experience he'd had as a teenager, an accident at the lumber mill. He was fine, but had been knocked out. Dad speculated about whether he'd only passed out or if he'd actually died and come back to life. "Anyway," he said, "I saw what they talk about, that bright light at the end of the tunnel, and I felt an immense love, like nothing on earth. I'm going to that light, and I'll wait there for your mother and all you kids." Part of me wondered if he wasn't just saying that to make my mother feel better. She had always been resolute in her faith, but Dad was more of a cynic. Still, he'd made a promise to my mother to raise us Catholic, which included belief in the afterlife. Not likely he would betray that promise now, and if it offered comfort to his children, what harm was there? Or maybe he really did believe. Just as he wasn't about to break his vow to my mother, I wasn't about to question his belief. "Well, Dad, are you going to make us your fabulous cinnamon rolls in heaven? Because after dying and all, I bet a cinnamon roll would really hit the spot." "Tell you what, Not only will I have a cinnamon roll waiting for you the day you die, but that night I'll make you a lime daiquiri. How does that sound? Sounds delicious. Mom put in a request for his pancakes, and we toasted all the great meals we'd enjoyed together and would enjoy again in heaven. Speaking of food, I asked, turning practical, is there anything you need from the grocery store, the drugstore, or anywhere? As a matter of fact, Mom said, I could use a trip to the store. I haven't gotten your father an anniversary present. Oh, Tricia, you don't need to get me a present. Mom looked at Dad, their last anniversary. I thought about all the tiny regrets that can build, how she might torture herself later for not getting him a present. I want to, sweetheart, was all she said. But I haven't gotten anything for you. Mom leaned over and kissed his cheek. Today is present enough. While Mom grabbed her purse, I ran to get the roses out of the back seat. Now was my chance. I set them next to Dad's chair and quickly explained that I'd been to the store earlier, and now he'd have something to give Mom after all. He pulled me toward him for a hug. Then I ran to meet Mom in the car. The store clerk teased Mom a little when she asked for cigars. Early 20s with a swirling tattoo design on his forearms, he carded her and asked, do your parents know you're buying these? Without missing a beat, Mom responded, no, and I'd like to keep it that way. Well, don't smoke all of these at once, he advised. Wash them down with a little whiskey. You know what they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, the clerk laughed. If that's true, you're going to be very strong. He had no idea how right he was. I expected Mom to wince at the remark, but she just smiled back at him. I marveled at her ability to joke and pretend nothing was wrong. She did it out of consideration for him, of course. There's no way she would have said, actually, these are for my dying husband. We're celebrating our last anniversary together. He quit years ago, but with only a month left to live, why not? Back at the house, Mom presented the cigars and Dad presented the roses. While Dad smoked, we discussed their photinia hedge, how it had gotten so big and leafy we could sit here in its late afternoon shade in perfect comfort. Dad looked at the vase of flowers and back at me. Honey, how are you doing? Really, are you okay for money? It's a little tight, I admitted, not wanting to let on that I'd impulsively spent my last few dollars on roses, especially with Jeff's birthday coming up. I'd like to help out, he said. We don't have much, but I'd like to give you a little something. The idea was appalling to me. I couldn't take a dying man's money. And what about Mom? She would be down to just her pension and Social Security after Dad died. I couldn't take a soon-to-be widow's money either. I can't. I just can't. Mom grabbed her checkbook from her purse and handed it to Dad. We want to do this, she said. You can't deny a father his dying wish to help his daughter, Dad said. Oh, no fair. You're going to play that card? The dying father card? Dad beamed. That's right. We play dirty around here. And he handed me a check saying he wished it could be more. More? It was everything. That check would pay for groceries for Jeff and me and cover part of the upcoming mortgage payment. Still, it didn't feel right, taking money from him when he was so sick. I tried to hand the check back, but Dad said, this is important to me. I want to do this for you. I thought to myself, what would be worse, to take his money or to stubbornly refuse this last gift? I kissed his cheek and took the check. How are we doing on time? Do we have time to read one poem, or are we up to 10?
I think one poem would be okay. Hannah, is that okay with you? She says, yeah, great.
Okay. So this is another one dealing with violence from the disruption regime. Thundercrack. The shot resounded like a ball peen on sheet metal and riffled us awake, bed covers dragged over shoulders and head, our parachute of sleepy denial. I tried to string the elusive images from my dreams into a logical narrative, but found myself instead counting seconds between flash and its echo, like cultures who measure the lengths between knots, a palpable mathematics of event and aftermath, jab and bruise, gunshot and bullet, embedded in bone and broken promises, like this world I had pictured so trustingly as a child. But walking home on empty streets in the drowsy hour past midnight, and a gun popped in the distance, too far away to hear the copper ring of casings, but I could sense the way the air bent, close to my ear with each whistling missive. And who knows what hunters lurk in a sleepy bedroom community, summer night, girl walking, cool firearm cradled. Did he aim to miss? Or did he nail a bullseye that reverberates decades later, even from the marrow of slumber, a memory and fear I cannot purge? It hides in the very amygdala that once was a moving target on a night as safe as tonight. Thank you.
Great, beautiful.
Wow, very good.
Thank you so much, Jill. Gonna unleash Pandora's audio and have us both, or no, that's untrue. Hannah, you're unmuted. That's great. Loved those. I think we're gonna introduce Hannah now and let her take it away.
We are, if I may.
Yeah.
So Hannah VanderHart lives in Durham, North Carolina, under the pines. Her publications include the chapbook Hands Like Birds from Ethel Press and the full-length collection What. And we went back and forth on this. I think we decided on What Pecan Light.
That's correct.
Good. What Pecan Light. Forthcoming from Bull City Press in spring 2021. So here's Hannah. Thank you.
Yeah, congrats. Yay. Take it away, Hannah.
Thank you, Kristi. Thank you, Alan and Jill. That was beautiful. I am going to read a poem from Hands Like Birds, my little chapbook, first. And they're ekphrastic poems around the work of Artemisia Gentileschi. You should save her Wikipedia page for really boring moment during quarantine. Her subject's women, and this is after Judith slaying Holofernes. She has two different versions. Women holding violence and virtue, women slaying Holofernes, women holding the sword in hand up against the candlelight, women wrapping the severed head, women's mouths set in red lines, the shadows surrounding under red velvet drapes. Caravaggio's women can't quite get into the beheading. They are very young and very old. Artemisia's women have no such problem. Their braceleted arms on the sword's hilt, grasping facial hair, blood spraying the air, running the mattress, women with strong arms, women clothed in gold, women's sleeves pushed up, women with their hair wrapped, their hands free. Sorry, I'm having like major dry mouth tonight. I'm also like so nervous. I'm teaching a class on Zoom, but it is nothing to my first reading on Zoom. So I saved all my nerves just for you. I'm going to read I'm also reading work I've never read before. That's terrifying. That's why people don't do that. But as a reader, I wait for someone to read their new work. I love hearing new work. I know it's a risk, and I appreciate that. So here's me on the other side, is sweating about it. This is from What Pecan Light, which deals with the South and my family and a family legacy of my third great grandfather, who was an enslaver and had a plantation in Alabama. This is called Where Art Thou? A Family Account. Chased from the Illinois territory for selling snake oil, one dead. Flying on a ship from England as horse thieves. Lifting heels from farms to join the Confederates. Whooping, hollering. Every man in my family a rebel, known to his chickens. Every woman a gardener, baker, animal husbander. There is little new in our furrows, on our tongues, corn and sugar, family kindness kept in the family, rows of sparkling okra, fat in the pan. You can taste the lard in cookies and cakes, always. When you cannot see it, it is still there. And when your mother says, too poor to own slaves, enslavement still happened in the house, the barn, in the fields, and the gardens, behind closed doors until the law changed. But the letter of the law is the only thing that gave, not the spirit. I've seen the census and confession in my family's scripted, educated hands. Nothing says we are poor, but something says we did enslave. Same as it says we farmed, lived in Louisiana, Arkansas, Kentucky. Same as down by the river, moss grows damp on the trees, algae on the rocks in the water. And on those rocks, a foot can slip and slip again. Keep these failures close, my little love. Cradle this knowing like a chick in your hand. Shelter its feathered bones. Thanks. And then I was going to read some newer work that's from my manuscript Larks, which is very much kind of a messy in progress, hasn't received all of my attention yet. And I'll just watch the time and kind of read a couple poems from there. Invocation to Doves. There are a lot of birds in this book. I do not know whether it is morning or morning, the name of the doves calling in the hymns of day. Sometimes I do not know the spelling of a single word, or why the couple gesture in their car, making a left turn. Tonight the clouds settle on the mountains, pale pink, and then mist, and then no mountain. Almost every day I say to someone, it is not important, but the wing of it, the beak, the onyx eye, is that I do not know this either. This is a tree love poem. I documented all the trees in my yard early in quarantine, I've done it already, I can't do it again. So each of these stanzas is the common names for one tree. And I have an epigraph from Kay Ryan, which says, it is vacation-like to actually pay attention. Your world is relieved of clutter for a split second. Willow oak, pin oak, peach oak, swamp chestnut oak, sweet gum, hazel pine, red gum, star-leaved gum, American storax, alligator wood, bald cypress, red cypress, white cypress, gulf cypress, swamp cypress, tidewater red cypress, loblolly, sea pine, old field pine, southern pine, frankincense pine. To know a name is to open the world to what comes after naming. And then I have two poems, but I can just read one. This one's called Without Chickens, proving, I guess, that I can't write a book without chickens, which generations of chicken farmers in our family. Without chickens, I love the hawk. Without something to protect and no coop or run, the hawk screams our floating blessing, piercing cry in the afternoon light. My little birds are safe. In my imagination, the only place anything is safe. The hawk adapts and thrives in cities as on ocean cliffs, but domesticate a bird and you'll have to keep it safe. I cannot keep anything safe. Every day, I release my children to the world. Anyone can touch them. Anyone can tell them things. Peace is having no trust. But I choose trust, though I will not keep chickens, that I might love the hawks and the pines that obscure the sky, and the talons, hooked beaks that are part of the sky.
Wow, so beautiful.
So good. So
what
good.
a bunch of great
Wow.
pieces we got to hear from our 2 readings. And Zoom is telling me we have a whopping 7 minutes left.
7 minutes.
So to my mind, we could open it up for questions. And Alan would like to say something. Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you everyone for coming, and this is a great turnout. We will have another reading this coming Thursday.
The 16th,
so
yeah.
Not tomorrow, but the 16th. Same time, 6:30 to 7. And we'll be featuring Demisty
Bellinger and Casey Judds.
So please tune in for those as well. Would like to turn this over to Jill and Hannah.
Yeah, and to my mind, if you want to ask a question, maybe type it in the chat, or let me know if you really want to be unmuted, and I will click the button for you. And thank you again, everyone, for coming.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely.
How to Write Art, Desire, Sensuality from MC. Hannah? Do you want to take a stab at that? Shall I?
Oh, how to write art desire.
Maybe the person who asked could clarify a little bit more what they mean.
It just took me a moment to locate the question and marry it together. I would say with my
I don't know. That's not clearing it up for me, but maybe Hannah or Jill know.
In a little bit. It's a tough one. In this memoir, I remember when I was kind of in the early stages of it, and I was writing about a past relationship, and somebody leading a workshop said, "Where's the sex?" And I said, "My mother-in-law is going to read this someday." And they said, regardless of who reads it, you have to write in something. And so I wrote about the first kiss, and and this feeling of being very attracted, and the sensuality of it. And anyway, and I my mother-in-law was maybe going to come to this reading. I don't know if she's watching, but I got inspiration by not thinking about how my mother-in-law would read what I write, because it just seemed potentially embarrassing. But I think that that's part of the problem, is that if we imagine, the person that we don't want to, really see us as being obsessed with sex, for example, or writing about, it doesn't even have to be sex, it could be about, feelings that we're ashamed of, being angry with somebody, or even wanting to hurt somebody, or something like that, and just kind of finding the courage to be as completely honest as we possibly can on the page, and then deciding later, do I want to keep this or not? And hopefully those really candid, raw moments will stay, because it's what's most honest about our lives.
Yeah,
That was
that's
a great answer.
such a great question
Oh, the
too.
mic's
Now
on.
that I understand it better.
Can I weigh in just for a quick second?
Is it Carol? You're wanting to weigh
It's
in?
Carol. It's
Okay.
Carol, and I just wanted talking about writing those scenes. Diana Gabaldon of the prolific Outlander series writes sex and love scenes so beautifully, and she's often questioned about how she does it. If the questioner really is interested in another point of view, they should go to Diana's website and scan some of those answers, because she does it beautifully.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much, Carol. I think that it's worth noting that women get asked about this more often than other kinds of artists, you know, like how do you write about desire and sex and shame? And I think it's something, you know, it just so happens that all three of Hannah, Jill, and myself, that's something we're very interested in. So that's such a great point. I wish we had a whole Zoom time to go into the implications of that. But just because I'm trying to speed along, is there something we can quickly ask Hannah, or would anyone just like to comment on anything? And if, again, feel free to do so in the chat as well.
I just quickly want to ask Hannah, please tell me again the title of the book. I want to buy it.
Oh, thank you. It's my chapbook is Hands Like Birds.
Hands Like Birds.
And there's a link to the chapbook in the chat if you scroll all the way up.
Thank you very much.
And I'm so glad that that was asked. We have been putting links. I put Jill's website, her book page there, and Hannah, you know, she put a link to her chapbook that's already out. But don't forget, next year, What Pecan Light is going to be coming out as well. And I mean, it's going to be hard to wait, right? It's so exciting, and I'm just really happy we got to hear such beautiful work.
It looks like it's going to close on us here.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you
going
so
to
much,
close
everyone.
any second. So
Thank
I'm
you
talking
especially,
really
Hannah and
quickly.
Jill. It's been great. And come to our reading next Thursday.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks
Thank
you,
you so
everyone.
much for coming. Bye.
Bye.
I think we can just sit tight because we're the